UFC 281 goes down this Saturday night, live from Madison Square Garden, headlined by two title fights. In the main event, we got Israel Adesanya looking to defend his middleweight title for the sixth time, going up against familiar foe Alex Pereira. And then in the co-main event, we have the strawweight title on the line as Carla Esparza looks to defend her title for the first time, going up against former title holder Weili Zhang. But my money and my eyes are set on the first fight on the main card between Dan Hooker and Claudio Puelles. Similar to the name of this video, how the hell is this guy such a small favorite? He should be a much bigger favorite in this spot. Now, I get it. You guys might be looking at me being like, hey, Manpreet, look at all the red on the Dan Hooker side. The guy is falling off. The guy is washed, is what a lot of people are saying. And I do not agree with that at all. Look at the level of competition Dan Hooker has been going up against. Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Islam Makhachev, Arnold Allen. And that Arnold Allen fight, he was a very much compromised version of himself, considering he was killing himself to get down to 145 pounds. Now he's back up at 155 pounds where he does his best work, and he significantly outmatches Claudio Puelles in almost every realm outside of jiu-jitsu. But even in jiu-jitsu, Dan Hooker has a very underrated game. A lot of people just want to look back at the Islam Makhachev fight and look, Makhachev sliced through him like butter. What did Makhachev just do to the submission leader in the UFC a couple weeks ago? That's how good Makhachev is on the ground. So don't even look at that fight. Look prior. Look at the Al Iaquinta fight where Al Iaquinta is going for heel hooks. You see Dan Hooker smashing his face in. You see in a prior opponent, I think it was Ian Entwistle, just going for leg locks. And Dan Hooker just elbowed that man into oblivion. This guy has a very underrated jiu-jitsu game, and I don't think he would get submitted to something as amateurish as a knee bar. And then on the feet, it is night and day in terms of the skill level here. Dan Hooker is a far superior striker, and I think he's going to touch up Claudio Puelles and possibly finish him later on in this fight. Puelles, I've backed him in the past. I backed him as a big underdog against Jordan Levitt because I thought that line was way off, and he was obviously victorious there. But beating Jordan Levitt, beating Clay Guida, and even beating Chris Gritzmacher means nothing when you're facing a guy of the skill level of Dan Hooker. Don't look at just the red. This is what I like to call recency bias. Everybody's jumping on the Puelles side because of the recent run that Dan Hooker is on, and they're overlooking the fact that Claudio Puelles couldn't even hold a candle to the level of competition that Dan Hooker has been going up against recently. This is a similar position to when Dan went on that first two-fight losing streak in these last 5 fights. He came back and he put on an absolute clinic against Nasrat Haqparast. Now, similar situation, coming off of 2 losses, taking a significant step down in competition. I think Dan Hooker goes out there and absolutely obliterates Claudio Puelles here. I got in way too early on this line, thinking that the line was going to move the other way. I got minus 165. I got a little bit more at minus 145, but I saw earlier today that you can get him around minus 135. Absolutely insane line. Do not go with the line movement here, folks. I promise you, Dan Hooker is going to win this fight. Let's go.